And you also have a non-Christian
orientation
that
of
can come to this. What would you do?
It's already done. Is it?
So you will write an exam. So please listen to me. Sesbi is going to write, they are going to write an exam to make it transparent. So what if at the end of the exam,
Is it too far
it's the Muslim that took everything?
The register.
What they say that,
We use
that you
it's
sure you
already
get the
online.
answers. Because already in the organization, they already know, this is just me saying this out of
Did you send it
they already know you think, NG is very religious. But you've come up with a transparent process where, but fortunately, unfortunately, what do we do that with the 6 months? How do you manage that?
I think before these exams, they can kind of like break the community to so there's already enough
based on the assumption that everybody is competent, it's just that we need to fill in the slots. So I don't think there is any need for an exam. In management, you need to look at what's going to be the resultant effect of what you're doing. So it's more like you, as a Muslim, equity and justice, you're just filling the slots. That's it. It has to come from you being a Muslim, and you need to look at the resultant effect on the business. If the slots are filled by all Muslims, then you have all Christians moving along with the business, then your business will go up serious.
So, one of the things I'm trying to jump at is taking that balance. Sometimes from within, we know we are doing there. But from outside, it's not being constructed that way. I mean, you can't please everybody, but it's just because when you volatile society, I have made, to present my own internet. I've not been watching news, and I don't contribute on my group forum, my secondary school mates group forum, because I don't want anybody to use my record. So, my dear sister, if you are the NG CEO, see, I'm praying for you already. You are the NG CEO, what would you do? Don't you think about it? You have an answer, you just want to, because I'm giving you a quick idea.
I will go with the external validity. For example, I want to assume that they are all qualified to go for this training. I also want to have an assumption that maybe I have a maximum slot, maybe only 4, I have 8 people that are qualified. They are on the same capacity, competency level, evolution level, things like that.
Okay, so that's balance, but what he said, we are looking at the long-term view of the organization. And the organization is not a Muslim or Christian, but is backed by Muslim or Christian. So we are looking at the long-term objective. Are you going to be rewarding people for based on their religion or expediency? Okay, what if they are not competent? They are all on the same level,
yes,
but they are not all competent.
they will pick the best of
You set up a committee. What if they don't they start doing everything? You know how we do our own thing in Nigeria. You set up a committee. And it's every day. What if the people believe that there's some form of bias? You set up, okay, the head of the panel is Ajah, another person, Alaji. And maybe then there's just a minority, maybe one or two guys, so you set up a panel. Three are Muslim and two are Christian. These are the realities of our society today, where we have to strive as much as possible to live and grow with God. And it's increasingly becoming difficult. I'd like to hear from you. Yes. No, Miriam, you have to say something. Because you are NG, as if they are paid for you. NG now. NG. What would you do? How would you make it fair? Separate exams. She said she will have separate exams for both of them. And the people who immerse will.
I think I would start from running what an ideal organization is. As the MD, CEO, all decisions or all decision making activities should sit at your footstep. And that's why you have different people in the organization responsible for whatever it is. Particularly with training sits under human resources, human capital. And if they are bringing a schedule of people that are supposed to go for training to you, it's for you to be able to have people. But at the point where they are picking people from different departments, that isn't your problem. Because these people probably have line managers or they have people they are reporting to. But if it's that, like I'm talking about senior management that are even reporting to the CEO itself, there should be processes, structures in place to address things like the value that my brother spoke to. If you are going for the training, how does it relate to your job? And what is the value of that training to the organization and to yourself? And so if it boils down to where it's not an ideal situation, the MDC is the sole, authority. It depends on how you want to position your organization. There are things called diversity, inclusion, and those type of things. And it's not just about your job. I know an international company in here. When their MD became a Yoruba person, so over time they've always had foreigners as their MD. And then they switched the MD to a Yoruba person. And suddenly they started whistleblowing to their parent company that all the key people in the organization now Yoruba people. The only thing that helped the MD out of the panel that was set up outside of the country was that the processes in getting those people into where they were clearly laid down by human capital and had no influence in getting those people in. So again, as the MDCEO, you must move towards running an ideal organization where decision making is not your sole authority. You have processes, structures in place that addresses a lot of things. I know MDs that they really don't want to sign on anything. They know where their own authority stops and where people like human capital, COO, CFO, so everybody must assume responsibility for their role so that when things like this happen, they can put their chest on there that I made this decision based on this criteria. So again, it might not even be individual, it might even be men to women. You are sending all the 6 people there and the women are there. You may be ethnic, you may be religious, so but what we always find out is the process that helps that decision making and that transparency. And if it falls down to you as a person that these are all 6 men, these are all 6 Yoruba people, these are all 6 Christians or this are, then maybe you have to then switch up the diversity, inclusion and those type of things. So you don't have to go back and do the job. We have an idea of what our organization wants to represent. And so maybe from that perspective,
Maybe it's exhausted.
Thank you very much. That's a very, very rich contribution. So our speaker is here. And so what we try to do is before you came on, you know, he's been around because it's a natural, it's always an early caller. So it must have arrived and gone somewhere else. So I asked a question. Each of us, we are getting to organization. So there are 6 slots for an overseas travel. We started from the Muslim, Christian, okay, so all of them are competent. So are you going to choose 6 Muslims to travel, or you are going to do 3 Muslims, 3 Christians? So my dad and my brother, one of my brothers said they should do an internal interview within the organization. Another one says, no, let's use an external third party that does not know us. Another person says, let's do 50-50. Another person says, okay, let's look at the long-term objective of the organization and put the right people there. But because of our society that is full of bias these days, especially along religious lines, there's no crack as big, there's no fault line as big as religion. Any small thing, is it because you are Muslim? Or something happened, your colleague that you have been laughing with and everything, and maybe Boko Haram or one organization does something, and you don't see a 360 flip of that colleague, the way that your colleague will really start relating with you. So the objective of this discussion is to start taking from what are our real values, what is our understanding of justice. Umar Radiallahu Anhu said something. He says injustice bears very bad. So I need to share with you. So when I schooled with FGC, and when we at that time, what is more of non-Muslim? It was a federal school. You know, I didn't know until my daughter also went to military school. You have to let me school. But do you know that there's a Muslim uniform? See? Do you know? There is a Muslim uniform. And do you know how I knew? I'm not going to make time. There is a PAMSEC of the Ministry of Education. It was during Jubilee and English time. Because when girls wear their lipstick, their busts are showing from the start. So they give them a lipstick. But the principals, the non-Muslim principals, killed that uniform. Unfortunately, I have pictures of it. I have a copy of it. What they did at Queen's College was that the principal stylishly ensured that the players stopped showing it as an option. Is that justice? It is Friday. You don't say you go for junior. You set an exam. You set classes to that time. But unfortunately, and that's one of the reasons why we're having this conversation, Muslims are beginning to retaliate. But that's not Islam, that's not the prophetic methodology. If you look at the story of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when they say you should always, I'm just beginning to understand the reasons why we should be doing, saying salawat to the Prophet. If you can't appreciate the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam until you read about him. If you look at the history of Islam, Medina, when they went to Medina, they met non-Muslims there. Because of character, they said, you come and become our president. We use that character can arrest so many things. So we Muslims must not stoop low to their level, to become unjust and not to promote history of yourself. So on that note, I'm going to invite my dear brother to start the calling it to Grammy, historically a lecturer, although I believe you already have this paper. Historically a lecturer at one of the tertiary institutions at Kope. He's one of those people I find very soulful when he delivers his lecture. And so the rest information about it, you'll find it in what we share with you.
It's okay.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى أهله وأصحابه وسلم. اللهم صل صلاة تنجينا بها من جميع الأحوال والآفات وتهدي لنا بها جميع الأحجات وتطهرنا بها من كل السيئات وترفعنا بها عندك على الدرجات وتبلغنا بها أقصى الغايات من جميع الخيرات في آيات وبعد الممات. إخوة في الله، أحييكم بتحية إسلامية مباركة فأقول السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. All praise is due to Allah, Allah the most gracious, Allah the most merciful, Allah the giver, Allah the taker, Allah the cherisher, Allah the sustainer, Allah the magnificent, Allah the most high, Allah the creator of all creations, Allah the giver of life and the giver of death, Allah the formulator of human destiny, whom the rollings of the moons and stars obeys. We praise Him, we glorify Him, we adore Him as our Lord and our Creator. We beseech His blessings upon the lowliness of humanity. The man who was never taught how to hold the pen, but he was blessed with whatever the pen's ranks, both worldly and spiritual, Muhammad al-Mustafa. الذي أنقذنا من فتنة الغباوة إلى حقيقة الإرفان. It was Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that took us out of dungeon of darkness, dungeon of ignorance, and brought us into the light of awareness and the light of divinity. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to amass His blessings upon Muhammad and his household and his companion, and all the allegiance of the truth to the day of reckoning. Once again, my brothers, my sisters, friends, I say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah that we are here today as usual and as part of our tradition at the Micah floor to always meet ourselves and discuss some factual issues concerning our religion, concerning our life as Muslims, and concerning our community. And we know that a lot of responsibility has been given to us by our Creator as Muslims. And one of those responsibilities is the responsibility of our community. And that is the reason why even if everybody are speaking, the Muslims cannot speak. Why? Because we have a lot of responsibility to discharge. And we have a lot of queries to answer before our Creator. That is why the scholars say that if the society is bad, it is the Muslims in the society that are bad. And that is the reason why the society is bad. And whenever the society is good, then that means the Muslims there are working and they are not speaking. And they are doing their duty as expected of them. And just like my brother said the other time, that as Muslims, there are a lot of things that can only be corrected by us. Because that is the major reason why Allah has made us His vigilance on the surface of earth. And that is why we are called Khalifatullah fil Ard, the Khalifa of Allah on the surface of earth. And when you are called Khalifa, it simply means that you are the representative of Allah. And just like in the family, in most times it is the eldest sons that usually give account when the parents are not around and anything goes wrong in the house. But whenever the parents comes back, it is usually the eldest son or the eldest child that will give an account. Why has things gone wrong? Because you are expected to be the Khalifa in the absence of your parents that are supposed to take charge. The same way in the absence of the Prophet and the Sahaba, Muslims are supposed to take charge of this earth and the community that we live in and wherever we find ourselves. Alhamdulillah that Quran and Islam has been defined as a religion of totality, a religion and a way of life. And whenever we call something a way of life, it simply means that we are saying that everything that is embedded as far as life and living is concerned is also embedded in that thing. And that's the reason why Islam has been defined as a way of life. And the Quran has been defined as the constitution of Allah for the entire human race. Which means regardless of your country constitution, regardless of the science constitution, regardless of the organizational constitution that you have, Quran stands as the general constitution that the entire human race must follow for them to be able to live appropriately. And that is the reason why they said that there is nothing that the Quran has left untouched, and there is nothing Islam has left undiscussed. You know, in Sharia Islamia, when issues arises, some people will query a lot of things. That they say that, why is it that you always have Sharia stand on all issues? This one we say according to the fatwa of the scholars, this one we say according to Sharia. People that are naive and that are short-sighted or have little knowledge, we query a lot of things. And even some of these things we are talking about are not even in existence when the Prophet and the Sahabas are alive. So why is it that you have answers for every question? I said yes. And that is the reason why it is called Islam. That is the reason why it is called Quran, the universal constitution. And you know, the beauty of Sharia is that we have what we call different Qadoya in Sharia. We have what we call Qadoya Mu'asira, which talks about contemporary fiqh. And that is the reason why Islamic scholars will talk about all contemporary issues. There was no cryptocurrency during the life of the Sahaba and the Sahabiyat, but go online, you will see a lot of fatwa concerning cryptocurrency by Islamic scholars. There is nothing like the use of the airplane, the use of social media, the use of a lot of things during the life of the Prophet and the Sahaba. But you will discover that there are fatwas for virtually everything. We call them Qadoya or Fiqh Mu'asira, contemporary Islamic fiqh. And you know, whenever we talk of Islamic jurisprudence, it's something that we can make inference. So which means there are rules that are jammed, that we can make a lot of inferences out of it, that this is a rule. Something new now happened. We now look at the link and the relationship between a standing rule and that new thing that is in existence. They will be able to make inference of what? Judgment. We make inference of judgment from whatever standing rule that we have. And that is why we can always find solutions for all problems. But today we want to be talking about justice. The just, the unjust, and those that have been deprived justice, and those that have been put to the background. This is not something new. This is not a part of what can be regarded as teaching like a Qadoya Mu'asira, but it is something that has been existed right from the time the world comes to be. Because injustice has always perpetrated the surface of earth. And if you can look back into the history of humanity from the time of Adam till later time, you will see a lot of injustice. Even when it was just Adam and Hawa and their two children, Cain and Abel, Kabila and Abila, you see a lot of injustice where one kills the other for one reason or that is best not to him. But Allah in His way has a way of passing judgment on everything, because even before the creation of the earth, Allah has been already written down the Quran and how things become unfolded as time goes by. So today we want to look at justice. And the very first question we are going to ask ourselves that should serve as our basis is, what exactly is justice? Al-Adl. Some people may at times want to interchange it with sidq. They are two different things. Sidq is just doing righteous deeds or be truthful. But there is a difference between being truthful and being just. There is a difference between doing good and being just. They are not the same. If you do good is for you. You may decide to do good, you may decide not to do good, and Allah will judge you accordingly. But whenever it comes to adlu, which is justice, you don't have option of picking, or I don't have an opinion or an option that maybe I want to be just or I decide not to be just. No. Amrun maqdiya, you must be just. So that's the reason why you don't have choice. And Allah has made it an amrun maqdiya that everybody must be just. It is a commandment from Allah that we must be just. Now, looking at what justice is, scholars look at it from various aspects. One of our contemporary scholars that is well known, that has written vastly on Islamic jurisprudence and Islamic matters, he looked at it from three different angles and he defined it separately. He looked at justice as pivot upon which heavens and earth and all within it were built. Model samawat wal ardi wa ma fihima. Model samawat wal ardi wa ma fihima. The pivot upon which heaven and earth and all within them were built. And he quickly went into the verse of the Quran, Surah Al-Rahman, verse 7 to 10, where Allah said, قال تعالى والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان. You know, when Allah was talking about the creation of heaven and earth, at the point in time, he swerved into talking about scales, into talking about weights through which we use to transact within ourselves. And he said, وَالسَّمَاءَ. Look at it. You know Allah has a very beautiful way of talking. He has a very beautiful way of expressing itself. That is the Quran. He said, وَالسَّمَاءَ. Look at the summer, look at the heaven, the heaven. He said, we lifted the heavens high. We suspended the heaven as an ice paper. We leave it there. Wawada al-mizan. Because we make sure that we do what? We put in place al-mizan, a checks and balance. We put in place a measure. We put in place a scale. He said, why do we put a scale in place? Despite that we suspended the heavens without any pillar holding it. But why is that Allah now make available for us a scale? He said, Allah tetgawu fil mizan. So that in your transactions, none of you will transgress fil mizan in the use of weight or in the use of scale. Because ordinarily, if we decide to say that, don't let us make use of weight. Let me just say that if I put this side and this side, they are the same. Just carry one. The tendency that one will be more than other is high. And let's say, but we put in place for you what al-mizan, scale, weight. Allah so that none of you will transgress and will go out of his way in mizan, in the course of measuring. As simple as we feel that measuring is, and I said, none of you should transgress, none of you should go astray when it comes to measuring. You are to divide something into 2 or into 10 places for 10 people, then you must make sure that you observe just measurement. Wakimu the wasna, he said, we put in place for you a wasna, a scale, bilikistin, with justice. We put in place for you a scale with what? Justice. What I took 0 in mizan. Let none of you tamper with the mizan, with the scale. Like most of us used to do that whenever we want to go, most especially those that sells markets, they said, I'm selling 1 cup to you. But the 1 cup in one way and the one punched in to reduce the value of the content. Allah said, when I took 0 in mizan, dare not, you dare not do that. Do not tamper with the scale. Be just with the scale. For the fact that this earth has been put in place for the benefit of humanity. The scholars also look at what justice as an attribute. Sifatun means sifatullahi ta'ala. That if you ask yourself what is justice, you say justice is one of the attributes out of the numerous attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which means Allah bear the name as a just God. For you to know the enormosity of justice, he said one of my attributes that you can attribute with me is justice. And he said in the Quran, شهد الله أنه لا إله إلا هو والملائكة وأولو العلم قائما بالقسط. Allah was talking, he said, Allah himself, شهد الله, Allah bear witness. For you to know that when Allah wants to talk about a thing, and he wants you to know how beautiful that thing is, or how big that thing is before him, there are some certain juxtapositions that Allah will use. Just for you. It's not because Allah cannot just tell you directly, but he wants you to know how big and how heavy that thing is. He wants to talk about justice for us. And he said, Shahid Allah. Allah bear witness. Wal malaika. The angels as well also bear witness. Wa ulul ilmi, and the scholars and true bearers of knowledge for human beings that are just, that usually observe justice, not just any scholar. Which means Allah wants to testify to certain things. And he said, those that their testimony hold water are what? Are we? Allah himself, his angel, wa ulul ilmi. You now use an adjective to qualify, because every ulul ilmi, we can have those people that are knowledgeable but possess knowledge of shaitan. They are also scholars, and we can have scholars that are not of God. So Allah decided to use an adjective to qualify his own people, and he said, ulul ilmi or imam bil qist, those that usually stand by justice. For you to know how important justice is, that for the fact that an individual stands by justice and possesses little knowledge, and has categorized such a person as one of those people that will bear witness on those things that Allah and his angel also bear witness. Then thirdly, they said that justice and adlu, they say it and define it as the rule and judgment of Allah and his prohibitions. He said in the Quran, Allah said, Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan. And every Friday that we go to mosque and we pray, before we leave, it has become a tradition for those of us that usually go to Jummah very well. After the khutbah, the Imam will round up by saying what? Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan wa ita'i zil qurba wa yanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkar wal baghi ya'izukum la'allakum tadhakkarun. Allah commands us to do three things and prohibits us against three things. And what are those things? Ya'muru bil adli. The first of it is justice. Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli. The first of the commandment of Allah in that surah is justice. That we must be just. That is why I said it is not a question of option. I may decide to do sadaqah, I may decide to keep my money, I'm not going to do sadaqah. But I cannot decide to be unjust. You know, I can decide, in as much as the person is my friend, I may be unjust. No. In as much as the person in question is my enemy, then I am justified to be unjust. No. Ya'muru bil adli, Allah command us to be just. While we stand, and for us to do good. Because what is the essence of doing good when you are not just? What is the essence? That is show off. You are not just, but want to be good. That means you just want people to call you good. In fact, even if you don't have any means to do good, but you are just, then you are the best of humanity. Because which means, if you had means, you would have done more. But for the fact that you are just, and people know you to be a just person. Like my brother said the other time, one of the very reasons why majority of people accepted the prophet in the first instance was because of the fact that he was trustworthy and he is a just person. Let me quickly give you an example. When the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has not been pronounced as a prophet, he was somewhere, no, he was even somewhere around the Kaaba, and the Quraysh that happens to be the custodian of the Kaaba are having issues. The Kaaba was just rebuilt. You know, they have been pulling down the Kaaba severally and rebuilding it. Even before the prophethood of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So they just finished rebuilding the Kaaba. And they now have disparity among themselves on where to place the Hajarat al-Aswad, the black stone. So they said, some tribes said, we are going to be the one to place it. The other said, no, why will it be you? It's supposed to be us. And they begin, like 4 tribes, and they begin to fight on who is going to place the black stone at the right corner. Then it becomes an issue. And during the Jahiliyyah period, that is the pre-Islamic period of the Arab, any silly thing can cause war. If they are doing ordinary game, and maybe in the course of racing with horse, your horse mistakenly crossed my own and my horse fell down, it could become an internal war within 2 families. And they will fight for years. That's how foolish the Arabs can be. So when they begin this tussle within themselves, who is going to place the actual Hajarat al-Aswad, and they said to themselves that, okay, let us wait. And let us agree on something. Whosoever that comes in now as a third party, different from us here that are fighting, is going to be the one to select among us who is going to place the actual Hajarat al-Aswad. And they begin to wait, and they are counting 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and the prophet appears. The moment the prophet appeared, they said, that's a Sadiq. In fact, you are the best of hands. We are looking for somebody, we know that you are a just person. You will never be unjust to any one of us. Because these are the attributes of the prophet, even before the prophethood. And they said, this is our issue. We want to place this thing here. We feel that a family should be honored to do so. And the prophet smiled. And Allah in his wisdom endowed him with the knowledge to use. And the prophet said, can I have a mindi, his scarf? He said, and you know how one of them just pulled up his turban and said, what do you want to do with this guy? I said, place it on the floor. He put it there. The prophet now said, the prophet now moved, said, 4 of you should come. Let us move the Hajarat al-Aswad together and place it on the mindi. We said, like, what is he doing? Then he said, you hold it there at that corner. You hold it here. You hold it here. You hold it here. Oh, yeah, lift it up. And they lifted it up. And they push it to the corner. And the prophet just used his hand to let them push it in. And he said, the 4 of you have succeeded in placing the Hajarat al-Aswad in his right hand. And they look at themselves and said, how foolish we are. Why can't we think of this before this man came? And they said, that's the reason why we call you Al-Amin. We always find solutions to all problems. To show you how just the Muslim community has been even before Islam was pronounced. Now, the second question we are now going to ask ourselves is that, what are those things that Allah can do with justice and for those that are just? What exactly? If Allah wants to do anything, there's always a philosophy behind him doing it. Allah said, Waqimus Salat. There's a philosophy behind us praying Salat. He said, Inna Salat atani al-fashahi wal-munkar. Salat will prevent you from wrongdoing, and gradually you become righteous. And as a result, you become of God. Now, Allah said you should be just. Why has He commanded us to be just? The scholar said, Inna Allah yanzuru dawlat al-ajla. That Allah can help the government can help a just government. Allah will help any just government. Look at the sayings of the scholar. Inna Allah yanzuru dawlat al-ajla. Allah will help any leadership or government that is just. ولا قيام لأمة ولا عزة للدولة ولا نصر للإمارة إلا بالعدل. And Allah will not help anybody or any nation or honor any nation except they are just. And that was the reason why the Prophet ﷺ said in one of the hadiths, he said, Inna Allah, he said, La qaddasa Allahu ummatan, la ya'khudhu da'ifu wa haqqahu min qawiyya. That Allah will not be pleased with any community that refuse to take the right of the weak ones for them from the hand of the strong ones. Any community that refuses, that anytime the strong ones are oppressing the weak ones, they keep quiet. Allah will not be pleased with them. Any community or society that refuses to stand against oppression, stand against injustice on behalf of the weak ones, and they will never see the favor of Allah. Upon this hadith, Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala now said, Kalam Nafis Jiddan. But there's a beautiful statement concerning this. Ibn Taymiyyah said, Inna Allah yanzilu dawlatal a'ila walau kana kafira. That don't think because you are Muslims, then it is automatic that Allah must make you successful. No. Don't think because you are Muslim and you are in government, it is Buhari now is a Muslim. And as a result of that, his government must be the best of the best. And Ibn Taymiyyah said no. Inna Allah yanzuru dawlata al-adila walau kana kafira. That even if it is the government of a kafir, even if it's a kafir that is the head of a government, but such government is just, or such person in power is just, Allah will make him successful. Allah will help him and bail him out of all issues. Which means Allah will not use you being a Muslim or being a Muslim Ummah as a yardstick for success, either in governance or in leadership, but justice. Whosoever that is just, and such person is in government, Allah will raise his government to the highest of the heights, and will give him the best of successes and achievements. Why? Because he's just. And that is the reason why today America will continue to triumph over all other nations. Or let me say the American community will continue to triumph because of the justice that play in that country. It's a country where the right of an individual is protected. A country where the strong cannot just take hold of the weak anyhow without being queried or being challenged. It is a country where you are in power does not mean you cannot end your life in jail. It's a country where because you have the resources, you have wealth, does not mean you cannot find yourself behind bars. Justice. It's a country where if you are found guilty that you killed somebody, no matter how high you are placed, you will be brought to book. But look at us here in Nigeria. You don't even need to know Buhari. You don't even need to be the son of a minister or the son of a commissioner. Ordinarily, if you know one influential person in your area and you drive against the traffic, and last man catch you driving against the traffic, the only thing you just need to look at, and what is eating food, you taking the food to them. And that settles it. What about those people that have been caught and does not have anybody to call? Where lies justice? And I said, such society will never see success. A society where those who are at the bottom will only be the only ones receiving what is it called?
Sanction.
What?
Sanction.
The sanction of power. But those that are in authority and those that are influential will always do anything and go scot-free. Even as far as killing people in Nigeria. Somebody will kill someone because he is influential and he knows one person or the other, and the case will be buried. The Prophet said, such society will never be successful. But any society that stands in for justice Even if it's the government of Kufar, the Ibn Taymiyyah said, Allah will give them Nasr. I know what Nasr means. Nasr means Allah. Even when the Sahabas, during the life of the Prophet, feel that there is need for us to be successful in this our dawah, what did they ask for? Nasr. They said, Mata Nasr Allah. Oh, you Prophet of Allah, when is the Nasr of Allah going to come? And Allah said, Inna Nasr Allah Qareeb. The Nasr of Allah is very near. People take it that Allah will not grant Nasr to any community or any government, except that government is just, even if it's the government of the Kufar. Wholesomely, they now discover, they now define justice as what? Scholars say, al-adl, justice, huwa itawu kulli haqqin haqqahu. Min ghayri tahayyuzin aw mustahabat. Justice is given to every individual what they deserve, without any prejudice, without any biasness, without any form of favoritism. Whatsoever that anybody deserves, regardless of his religion, his faith, regardless of his tribe, his ethnicity, regardless of who he comes from, he knows somebody or he doesn't, they must be given what is rightly due to them. Now, we have defined what justice is. We know what justice is, which means injustice is just the direct opposite of what we have defined. Scholar now begins to break it down. They call it Mujalatul Adl, the elbow rooms of justice. What are the elbow rooms of justice? What are the areas in which every individual must be just? They are identified like 10 or 11 places that we will begin to look at it one after the other. They call the first one Adlu al-Insan ma'a nafsihi. Before you can be just, an individual must be just with his own soul. Adlu al-Insan ma'a nafsihi. An individual must be just with his own soul, which means you don't have a choice. And you know that justice, like I said, is what? Amrullah. It is the commandment of Allah that you must be just. And it begins with your own soul. Allah said, call Allah Ta'ala, in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 195, He said, وَلَا تُلِقُوا بِأَيْدِيَكُمْ إِلَىٰ تَهَلُّكَ. Do not use your own hand to create your own destruction. Do not use your own hand to create your own destruction. And that it is in this verse of the Quran that the Sharia that a person cannot kill himself comes from. Anything that will destroy you. Like I said in the other time that some Qadiyya Mu'asira came from all these basic rules. For instance, when we're in Azhar, in Egypt, when we were studying, somebody asked a question. You know, we used to talk about smoking, and an average Muslim will tell you that smoking is haram. Is that not? But when we get there, we realize that even most of our fathers do smoke. What happened? And you know, people like us that come from this part of the world, we cannot see and keep quiet. But it's like to think that we are not used to. We are used to, if you tell me this thing is white, the moment it becomes black, I will ask questions. On the white in FAO, why is white becoming black again? And majority of us, we ask our teacher or our scholars questions. And anyone that we don't use to smoke, they said that smoking is haram. What is your position on smoking? You will know that indirectly you are asking me a question. Tell me, after this time, don't ask me this question again. But one thing about them is that they are just. They will never, because of the fact that they are affected, now tell you otherwise. They will tell you, at-tadkhil fil Islam, haram. Smoking in Islam is haram. And you know Islamic jurisprudence, when you call something haram, it's haram. That is the highest level. And that is why we used to tell people that you haramite everything. This one haram, that one haram. Whosoever whosoever that engaged in haram will enter hellfire. Allah will punish him. That is the meaning. So you know we have levels of judgment in Islam. Is either something is haram, or is halal, or it's makruh, or is sunnah, or is mandu. Makruh, let me say something is makruh, yeah. The Prophet frowned at it, the scholars don't really like it, but when you are doing it, there's no problem. You will not be punished for doing it. Islam only frown at it. Are you getting it now? You only frown at it that it's not pure, it's not good enough, but it's not haram. If they should put the judgment haram on it, then if you engage in it, then it's like you enter hellfire or Allah punishes severely. As sunnah, that is good. It is sunnah of the Prophet. If you do it, you will be rewarded. If you don't do it, you will not be punished. But makruh, you do it, you will not be rewarded. You don't do it, you do it, you will be rewarded. You don't do it, you will not be punished. But haram, if you do it, and the arrow is that don't do it and you do it, you will be punished. Halal, if you do it, the arrow is that do it, or don't do it and you don't do it, you will be rewarded for not doing it. So, then we said haram. They did not question without they know I'm smoking. The verse was to this ayah that somebody will say, we ask question, where in the Quran does Allah say smoking is bad? Those that want to be mysterious, show me, people that believe so much in text, that not until when you show me, okay, this verse said, if you smoke, you are going to hellfire. No, you won't find such ayah in the Quran. But you find ayah like this that said, "La tuliku bi aydiyakum illa tahaduka." Do not use your hand to destroy your own life. And they said smoking is dangerous to your health, and smokers are likely to die young. So why do you want to kill yourself when Allah has forbidden you from killing yourself? You see the influence now, where the judgment comes from. So anything that falls under that category, even if it was not expressly stated in the Quran that it was not, but fall under the category that if you do it, if you destroy your own life, then it becomes haram on you. Because Allah has warned against us doing anything that will destroy us. So he said, that is the justice you can do to your own soul. Do not do anything that will drive you towards destruction. Anything. Secondly, al-adlu ma'al yatama. Justice with orphans. Majority of us, unconsciously or unknowingly, we have a lot of people under us. Under this one now, our subject comes under Omodo, our helper, shop helper, this helper, is just living with me, and things like that. And we neglect them when we do things for our own children or for ourselves, and we neglect them because of the fact that they are not our direct son or daughter. Because that the scholar said, an adlu mariatam, whosoever that falls under this category, you must be just with them, but especially with their wealth and resources. The child that his parents are late and they entrusted a company into your hand for you to, in fact, you must be the most watchful person. You have the right, if you are monitoring or managing a business for somebody, you have the right to what is accrued to you, but you must make sure that you do not mismanage it to the extent that that child that the wealth was left for will not have anything to live up to. So we must be just to people like that. Then the third category of justice, al-adlu bayna al-mutakhasimin. When I was dictating this thing to my students here, and he stopped writing and said, Islam is the most beautiful religion. Because this one said that justice among antagonists and contending enemies. Look at that. We are contending for the same position. We are contending for the same thing, but I must not be unjust to you, no matter what. Islam forbids me. Okay, this is an opportunity. Let me nail him so that this can be mine. Islam says you must never do that. You must not be unjust to whosoever that you are contending with. In fact, to the extent that you know that you are both going for the interview, and you know that you are both good. In fact, is your worst nightmare that if this guy should attend this interview with me, my chances is like this. And information was passed across, and you know that you don't get that information. Do not be unjust to the level that what's my business? Am I going to say you should not get the information? Make sure you pass the information across to me. You must not be unjust. Even at that level, the fact that you are both to tell me. Well, maybe this is my lucky day now. He passed information when his phone was off. Make sure the information gets to him. And that knows. The Quran said, Wallahu ya'lamu haythu yaj'al risalatahu. And that knows where he's going to place everything. He knows. 100 of us might go to the same madrasa to go and get Islamic law. But Allah knows those he's going to choose as his own guide, and not all the 100. So, don't think that by ordering information from your contendant, will give you an opportunity or edge over him. It is only Allah that can give opportunity and edge over anything. So, be righteous and be just with whatever you are doing, even at the level of contending with people. Call Allah Ta'ala. Allah said in Surah Al-Hujurat verse 9, He said, وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ اقْتَتَلُوا. If there are two Muslims, or two groups of Muslims, or two individuals among Muslims that are fighting with one another or having issues among themselves, فَاسْلَحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا. Make sure that you do justice among them and make sure that you do settlement among them. فَإِن بَغَتْ إِحْدَاهُمَا عَلَى الْأُخْرَى. If one of them now transgress over the other person, فَاقْتُلُوا الَّتِي تَبْغِي. All of you should now turn against the transgressor and make sure you fight him until you return back to the anger of Allah. Two Muslims now fighting each other. We call them for settlement. I don't know why. But we realize that one is still going against the other to do injustice. Then it now becomes the responsibility of all Muslims to now fight against that one that is the aggressor, against the other. The fourth one is an act of philanthropy. Justice in passing judgment. A case was brought before you, maybe as the head of a school, or as the head of a company, or as the head of the family, or what have you. But you feel that, oh, this is my Muslim brother now, and the other person is not a Muslim. And you see the truth that the Muslim brother is the one that erred. But you want to pass justice because of the fact that it's your Muslim brother, you decide to turn justice upside down. Allah said you are unjust. You are on the category of people that what are unjust. Which means when you are passing judgment on any matter, remove all sentiments and be just. Remove all sentiment, regardless of whatsoever. Remove all sentiment, ethnic sentiment, religious sentiment, friendship sentiment, family sentiment. Remove it. This is judgment. Because a simple judgment can bring the life of an individual into a standstill. Do you know the number of people that are still in jail up to now for no reason? I have a friend who happens to be jailed for like maybe 11 months. And he came back, he was narrating his story and some of those things that he met in the prison. He said somebody was there, he met that person there, and he's still living in prison. What happened? Thieves went somewhere, they stole the vehicle. They robbed somewhere and hijacked the vehicle. And on their way, they dropped the vehicle in a particular street. And they left. So the police were looking for the vehicle and they found it somewhere. So the SSS decided to hang around and said they will come back to come and pick it. May Allah help us so that we don't ring and FSSC. This young guy on a Sunday morning just want to go to one of these overlays. Yeah, it's just by the way. This guy was just wake up in his house and want to go and do one day. And he put up his Ankara and what have you and put up his car. When he got to the street, he just be like, this car, let me check if he's okay or not. And he was using the middle of the vehicle to see if he can't. The SSS just trapped him. And they said, you are the one that parked that. So he went to party. I just, up till now, the guy that is still in jail. because when the car was stolen, people were killed. He could not really justify himself that I'm just checking myself in the mirror. They say it's a lie. You are only scouting and looking around. You want to come and pick the car that you dropped. And up till now, it's in jail. So imagine that whosoever that has granted such judgment on that guy has a query before Allah. The only thing that will save him is that if he has fulfilled all righteousness, and the only fact before him still point to the fact that the guy is guilty. But if nothing has been done, the police that arrested him and refused to do the proper finding before presenting him to the court has a case to answer before Allah. Because this is an innocent soul that just want to go and eat semo on a Sunday party, and checking his car in the middle of a car, and before you know it, he's still lying, in jail. So that's the reason why there's one us that whenever we want to do judgment, we must be just with whatever judgment we are doing. And another one is Al-Adlu Ma'al A'da. Shukr Islam. Look at Islam. He said Al-Adlu Ma'al A'da. Justice with your enemies. Justice with the enemies. You have identified him as an enemy. You know that these people are our enemy, but you still must be just to them. And that can be found in the Surah. A lot of times that the Prophet have done that. That we will pass judgment on the Muslims, that you are the one that is guilty, regardless of the fact that they are enemies. Your enemy deserves justice. And you know what's here? People will even go and do shahada, testify against somebody because that person is the case at hand has nothing to do with him. But he said, God has cashed you, Allah will for you. And he said, a sister was narrating a story that we are talking about the issue of the north and the south. He said she was living in the north and something happened between two young child while they were praying asking. They were in the mosque, maybe on second rakah, when they heard the noise of these young guys fighting outside. By the time they will finish fourth rakah and do their salam and went out, and it was a Yoruba guy and an Hausa boy that were fighting, and somebody was asking him, he said, the imam that led salah for them, that the issue happens when they were on second rakah, was testifying that it was the Yoruba guy that was at fault, that he saw him. Yeah, then he said,
He has cash.
he said, it was a Yoruba guy that's at fault. You know, said she was dumbfounded, that she was just looking like this, that imam. We were also that together. Not on an open space, inside the mosque. Something else happened outside the mosque while we were on second rakah. And you are justifying that you saw it, it was you. He said, from that day, he said, he can never believe all these people in him. Because he believes so much in ethnicity. That is not right. Which means, as Muslims, we must be just even with our enemies. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says something in Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 8, he said, Ya ayyuha allazina amanu kunu qawwamina lillahi shuhada bil qist wa la yajrimannakum shana'an qawmin ala alla ta'dilu idilu huwa aqrabu lit-taqwa. Very beautiful ayah. Allah said, Ya ayyuha allazina amanu, oh you who believe, kunu qawwamina lillahi shuhada, be Allah's witness. Be firm as Allah's witness on the surface of earth. Be requesting, be justice. Be just when you are testifying for Allah. وَلَا يَجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شَنَآنَ قَوْمٍ. Do not allow the evil of others to influence your own goodness and not turn to be doing bad or evil. Do not allow it. And since that is the way they used to do too, we have to do it for our brothers too now. They used to do it now. Let us do it too. Do not allow the evil of others to influence you to do evil. Idilu, always be just. It is being just that can drive you closest to Allah. Being just is the only thing that can drive you closest to Allah. And the next one is Al-Adlu Ma'ahal Kitab. Justice with the people of the book, the Christians and the Jews. Don't say that they are not of my religion and they are not of my faith. Why should I be just to them? The Quran said, be just to the people of the book. Be just to them, either Christians or Jews. Let them see you as being just. That doesn't mean that you are no longer a Muslim or you see them as better than Muslims. No. But when it comes to justice, observe justice wherever you are, even with the people of the book. And that's what Allah said to the Prophet in Surah Shura, verse 15. He said, Falizalika. Allah was talking about being just to the people of the book. And Allah told the Prophet, Falizalika, for that reason, Fadiu, call them, do dawah for them, call them to Islam, was taken and be fair in your calling. Kama umirta, as you have been commanded. Wala tetebi awaham. Do not follow their own desires, their own heart desires. Don't follow it. Wakul amantu. Always tell them that I believe in Allah. Bima anzalallahu min kitabi. And I believe in everything that Allah has revealed in all books. Wa umirtu the adilu bainakum. And I've been commanded to be just among you. That is the commandment of Allah to the Prophet as against the Christians and the Jews. Then the next one that the scholar calls us to is what they refer to al-adlu fil ma'amalat at-tijariyya. Justice in business, in doing business with others. Justice in ma'amalat, in inter-social relationship or interpersonal relationship or business relationship with others. Allah said be just. When you are doing business with people, be just with them. And you know, a lot of us fail in this regard, especially because of the hardship of our economy. And at times, we derail from our real Islamic ideology and begin to think and act like a capitalist. And a Muslim can never be a capitalist. Because we are Muslims. Somebody will say, why? Why? Because we are Muslims. We are Muslim, we have our own rules, we have our laws, we have our Sharia that guides our activities, everything. There is nothing we want to do as Muslims that we are not guided by the Quran. And Islam is an ideology. It is an ideology. And that's what Allah said in the Quran. Allah said, when he was talking about Islam, he said, لِيُزْهِرَهُ عَلَى دِينِ كُلِّهِ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْكَافِرُونَ. Allah said, make sure that you use this religion to overcome other religions. Contemporary scholars now do the interpretation of that ayah and say, make sure that this Islamic ideology supersedes and overcomes other existing ideologies. Why? Because even almost all ideologies are attached to one religion or another. Capitalism is attached to Satanism. Socialism is an ideology. Communism is an ideology. Totalitarianism is an ideology. Islamism is also an ideology. So, whenever we are not dealing with people in any regard, we must deal with them as Muslims first. So, we must be conscious of that Muslim factor in us. Don't say, the person I'm dealing with is a non-Muslim. So, let us deal outside Islam. You must be conscious of what you want to do, in quotes, in the Islamic factor. So, Allah said, whenever you want to do business with people, make sure that you are just to them. Then, he said, in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 282, he said, Allah said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, iza tadayantum bidaynin ila ajalin musamma. Even if you want to give yourself loans, I want to borrow or share something, and it's going to be for a very long time, maybe 3 weeks, maybe 1 week, maybe 3 months. In as much as there is distance, it's not as if, okay, I'll just give it to you, I'll give it to you when I get to the car. And that's a very short time. You will not really need it. But I'll give it to you next week. I'll give it to you next 2 weeks. Whenever we want to loan ourselves, he said, fact to who? Make sure you put it into written. Some of us say, right, Sister Lagaja, I will hold my hand because of this common 100,000 naira. And I said, put it in writing. Write it down. I borrow so person so amount, and it comes to pay so time. Let there be a written document between you, in as much as there is distance between that kind of borrowing and paying back. For the yet to be local, if you cannot lie within yourself, find a katib, find somebody, a third party that will write. I want you to be a witness. I'm going to achieve a 100 million naira. I promise you to pay back over time. Can you help us put it down? And the katib must be added. It must not do something, it must not do anything mischievous among the two of them. The same thing applies to our dealings in businesses. People feel that since I have goods in the Spanish area, if I'm selling this thing, and as of last week, I have bought 100 of it, maybe for 100 naira each, and I'm still selling, I just sell 20, and it still remain like 80. Maybe by next week, the cost now got inflated. But I still have old stocks. As a Muslim, I must still sell my stocks at the old price. But as a capitalist, I will say that the new price in market is what I'm going to sell the old price. Because that will give me more profit. But this one, if I sell at the old price, it will give me more barakah. It will not give me more profit, it's going to give me more what? Barakah. One, I am observing the rules of Allah. I am conscious of the fact that I'm a Muslim and I'm not derailing. I'm not losing my Islamic integrity or my Islamic personality for worldly things. I still maintain it. And at the same time, I want the rahmah of Allah, the rizwan of Allah. And that's the reason why we say as Muslims, we are thieves. Because we have opportunity to steal from Allah at every point in time. Anything we want to do, we say that I'm not doing it for free, I'm doing it because I want to earn more reward. Even though it's something that I must do, even though it's something that I'm doing for myself. Like the Prophet said, was talking about a man meeting his wife. And the Prophet said, anytime you meet with your wife, Allah will reward you. And the woman said, even when we enjoy with our, this is not our own enjoyment. The Prophet said, yes, it's your enjoyment, but Allah will reward you. He said, why? What if you have done it with somebody else? Will Allah not punish you? So if Allah will punish you if you do it with somebody else, then He will reward you if you do it with the right person. That is Allah. We can always steal from Him at every point in time. And whatever we are doing, we can always tell Him that Allah, I'm borrowing you. It's not for free. Say I should do sadaqah, I'm doing it, but this one I borrow, I borrow you. You take sadaqah. Allah is a borrow, and I'm going to take that in manifold. Because that is the promise. And you see, some of these things are those ways through which we put money into our spiritual account. Majority of us only go to Allah whenever we have problems, without having an account with Allah. But we need to build a spiritual account, so that by the time we keep putting something in that spiritual account, anytime we are in need of Allah and we want to call upon Him, they said Allah is busy. Because He can be busy. We can quickly go into our spiritual account and withdraw. The same way, you save money into your banks. You need money, you want to collect another loan. They said the loan is not ready. You can easily go to your account and withdraw if you have money here. So the same way, if we have spiritual relationship with Allah and we have a spiritual account, we can always at every point in time go into our spiritual account and withdraw something here to use. Because we are not doing it for free. I've always been telling people, like my Sheikh said, all of us go preach glory of them. Allah Himself does not do anything for free. Whatever He did for us, for a purpose. So why would I be doing anything for free for Allah? People say peace and be in life because of Allah. Yes, because of Allah, with the mind, in the cause of Allah, with the mind of getting back in manifold. In the cause of Allah, but with the mind of what? Getting back in manifold. And I'm going to get this thing back in manifold. And that's why we do it. And another one that the scholar called us to in terms of justice is al-adlu fi shahada wa fi al-qawl al-mutlaq. Whenever you want to go and bear witness, something happened, they say we should come and testify. Make sure that this is similar to what I've said earlier, that make sure that whatever testimony that you are giving is you give it on the basis of the truth and justice. Now, another area where scholars now emphasize more on justice. You know, they talk about justice with your soul, justice in business. They now say, Al-Adlu ma'azawjat wal-awlad. Justice with your wives and children. Justice with wives and children. ويجب على الزوج أن يعدل بين الزوجات في البيت والنفقة من أسوة أو مأكل أو مشرب أو مسكن. The judge of us want to have marry more than 2 wives. And you know, anytime you want to marry, the question will not be, is there no condition for it? Most especially for those that are anti-most various wives and children. And let us look at this beautiful thing. He said, in terms of providing shelter for them, clothing, feeding, and any other thing, it must be just among many wives that you have. Whatever you do for one, you must be able to do it for the other. A lot of questions will arise. Does justice really mean equality? No. Justice cannot mean equality. Justice can only mean equity. Because there is a difference between equality and equity. You have 2 wives. One have 5 children. The other have 1 or 2. Are you going to give them the same kind of food, the same kind of money? No. How can you give what you give to 5 people to 2 people, or what you give to 2 people to 5 people? That is injustice. That is not equity. But people will always feel that it is equality. That whatever you give to this is what you should give to that. No, that is not it. But you must do equity. What is the value of what can take care of 2? Give to 2. The value of what can take care of 5, give to 5. That is equity. But if you want to bring it on the scale of equality, and you give them the same thing, then you are changing one for the other. So we must be wary of that. The difference between equality and equity. But Allah said, be just to them, give them everything. But that cannot come into the kind of clothing you give to them. You can give it equally, give them the same thing. The kind of house you give to them, you can do it equally. Buy the same thing for them, whatever if Allah has given you the means, you must be just. The same thing now applies. As much as you have to be just to your wives, you must be just to your children. Even if it's just one wife, you give back to all those children. One of the Sahaba, one day, the Prophet was sitting somewhere close to his house, and the Sahaba was coming from outside, and his 2 children are outside playing. And the moment they saw their father, as usual, the children will always run, daddy, 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 daddy. And the first one, the guy does like this to him. And the second one, he embraced him, throw him off, and carry him like this, and put him on his shoulder. And the Prophet was like this, looking at him. And when he got, the Prophet said, "It's wrong, call him." The Prophet said, "Why do you hug one and leave the other?" The Prophet said, "Go back and go and hug the first child. Go back to him. That is his right. In as much as you have hugged the second one, the first one also is entitled to it. Go back and go and hug him." And the man went back and was coming again, now carried the child, hug him and put it in his shoulder, the same way he did for the other one. The Prophet now told him that, listen, some certain things are natural. We may like one child more than the other. You know, especially these beautiful ones. Every parent will like any child that is handsome, good looking, and you want everybody to see how many here, as against the ugly one. But they didn't create themselves, and that created them that way, which means you must be just to them. Whatever feelings and affection you are giving to one, you must give to the other. If you are hugging one, then you must hug them round. Don't let one see it as, I've been observing, my father used to hug so person, but he only used to say hi to me. So we must be just to our children, and we must always try as much as possible to ensure that we do whatever that we do for one, we do it to the other person. Now, this is family justice, which takes us to our extended family, doing good to others and be just to them, even to our parents. Now, there is what we call the rights of the parents and the rights of wives. These are things that we must not mingle together. We must separate from one another. Our parents have certain rights that we can never and we must never deny them of or deprive them of. The same thing applies to our wives and children. And even the extended family, the parents of our wives or whatsoever, they also have their own rights. So every individual have their rights that we must give to them. And we must not at any point in time deprive one at the expense of the other. So the haqqu or the hukuk of parents, we must give it to them. Then the hukuk of zawj or zawja, we must give it to them. And that's why Allah said in the Quran concerning the rights of the woman, that we must at every point in time give to them whatever that they deserve. And Allah said that whatever rights that they deserve from the man should be given to them. The same way they too should also give back to their husband the kind of right he deserves. So we must always do it interchangeably. Then the greatest of all adlu that the scholar now end it with is what they call an adlu bain al-abdu wa khaliqu. Justice between us and Allah, our Creator. You know, how can Allah be talking about justice and we are not seeing Him as being just? Then what makes Him a God over us? Allah said, I have some duty I must fulfill over you, and I've never for one been found wanting in discharging my duties and responsibility to you. And that is what makes me a just God. Scholars now begin to break it down. They said, what are the justice that we must do and give to Allah? If He has given us everything, He has given us life, He has given us everything we want, He is just to us. How can we be just back to Allah? They said, وَيَجِبُ لِلَّهِ عَلَى الْأَبْدَانِ كَالصَّلَاةِ. Anything that Allah deserves as worship, we must give to Him, like prayer. It is the responsibility of the slave to worship his Creator. We must worship our Creator. We must give back to Allah anything that is attached to worship. That is the only time we are just to Him. So which means if we are found wanting, not praying to Allah, not fasting for Allah, not doing the right worship for Allah, then we are unjust to Him. Despite the fact that He's just to us. Allah is just to us by even giving us life. Like we used to say that it could have been somebody else and not you, the day you were giving back to. Because we all know that the simple ejaculation of a man comes with over 100 million spermatozoa. Is that not? That is over 100 million lives. And they are all struggling to become the real life. And it happens to be you. So which means if it's not you, it could have been somebody else. And the moment that simple life comes to life, that struck the egg and got it fertilized, it becomes the real life. The remaining over 900 million are waste. They will never come back again. Because they can't go back into the body again. So which means if it's not you, it could have been somebody else. So for that reason, Allah is just to you by making it to be you. How can you be just to Allah? You can only be just to Allah by making sure that anything that is attached to His worship is given to Him. ما يجب لله على نفوس الناس كالاعتقاد. You know, sometimes, like I said, our mind is a great weapon that we must take note of. Our mind. The scholar said the greatest weapon in the hand of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. Somebody wants to oppress you with good rulings. You know, the Yoruba are very good at fighting such battles. Yoruba will say in one of their adage, èèyàn tó rí wa, olóúnjẹ tó rí wa, tó rojú kókó, àwọn náà ṣe kí ni o, àáfà ìjẹun lọ́rùn. You know, Yoruba have one thing. If you know that you are such a person that doesn't like to share your food and you are eating, that's when Yoruba will go and look for what is it called? Toothpick. And we doing that, even if he has not eaten anything. Just for you to know that I don't care whatever you eat. If you like, eat heaven and earth. So if somebody wants to oppress you with his food and see you that you are just already licking your teeth, even though you are not eating, you feel like you didn't get oppressed. So our mind is very important, and that's the reason why anything that has to do with Aqidah is our duty and justice towards Allah. We must not compromise it. Aqidah is a thing of the mind. You know, there are some certain things that define you as a Muslim. Not only when you play alone. And that's why Allah said, لَيْسَ الْبِرَّ أَنْ تُوَلُّوا وُجُوهَكُمْ قِبَلَ الْمَشْرِقِ وَالْمَغْرِبِ. It is not until when you face Qibla you are praying that you said you are doing good. No, it's beyond that. That is part of it. But it's beyond that. Because the real thing is your Aqidah. We won't know if you have a good Aqidah until something comes your way. That little problem you have, how many of us have you called to help you here? That little past life that your business was confronted with, how many of us have you gone to help you do so? That little family problem that you have, that you feel like your family is about to crumble, how many places have you gone to go and do something that is contrary to your Aqidah? So, standing by your Aqidah, keeping it intact, is one of the justice you have to do to Allah. Keeping your Aqidah intact is one of those things that you have to do to Allah, that you have to give to Him. Why? Because those are the only thing that is between you and Him, and not to the third person. You can go to the mosque and people see you praying, but where is your mind? Is your mind truly with Allah? Are you truly in worship with your mind to Allah? Do you really truly believe that there is no miracle that will fall from the tree without the knowledge of Allah? Do you truly believe in La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah? Most scholars want to do tafsir of La ilaha illallah. By the time they do it and you read the tafsir of La ilaha illallah, you begin to ask yourself question, do I truly believe in La ilaha illallah? When you say La ilaha illa Allah, you do the nephew of everything. There is nothing that exists and have any superiority over me or my life. Illallah, except Allah. Do you truly hold it that way? You will not know until when certain things happen to you in your life that you will not really be a believer or not. And that's why Allah said, أَحْسِبَ النَّاسِ أَنْ يُتْرَكُوا أَنْ تَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. You think we are going to leave you all to yourself and you begin to claim that you are a believer without us testing you. So it is until when that test comes and you are able to stand at what you believe that you can truly be called a believer. A man is known when he has everything. A woman is known when her husband has nothing. Is that not? If you truly want to know the true meaning of love from a woman, it's when you don't have anything and she sits inside to stand by you, regardless of what. Then if you are a true man, a genuine man, we won't know you that you are a true man until you have everything it takes and you are still good to your wife and children. إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَا يَطْغَى أَنْ رَآهُ اسْتَغْنَىٰ. The Quran said it that the son of man will turn thug and ra'ahu istagna the moment he sees wealth. And that is why Yoruba will say èyàn tí ò tí lówó ìwà oníwà ló wù. We won't know you until when you have money. Ìwà oníwà ló wù. You will be gentle. You will be greeting people up and down as if he doesn't have anything other to do than greeting. And they say, the man is nice. He can greet, let him have money. His shoulder will be like this. And he start to do that. And like this. And then when people greet him, he will be like this. You will not be asking yourself, is it not the man that used to portray all around before? ordinary GP buy and begins to, that is when he begins to stash his clothes. Because his shoulder is not enough to put the clothes up high like this. So not until when certain things happen to you that you can truly justify the fact that you are a believer or not. Because believing in Allah transcends just doing the normal rituals that we used to do. Those are the Zohiriyah. What about the Batiniyah? Those things that is within you and Allah. You know, a scholar was asked that how can I know if I'm a good person or not? He said, you are not who you call yourself. One, you are what your wife and children call you. And you are not what you claim to be outside, but what you are inside. And within you yourself, you know if truly you are for God or not. Assess yourself before you are being assessed. We all should do that for ourselves. So we should ask ourselves, are we truly being just? Now, another justice that we now have towards Allah is whatever that Allah has called us to do for others, and we are doing it. And that is the reason why we used to tell people, how can you offend me? And you are going to Allah to seek for istighfar. You didn't offend Allah. You offended me. Come to me and tell me I'm sorry. You offended me. You blocked my way. You seized my business. You claim what's supposed to be mine. You now went there, you are there, astaghfirullah. You see Allah that you collected his business. You collected my wife, you said astaghfirullah. You see Allah's wife? Even on the day of judgment, Allah will not even put his mouth in that. If Allah say I forgive you, say you forgive me. See your wife that you collect? Somebody collect my own wife, you said you are forgiven. On whose behalf? So you have to come to me that you offended and tell me you are sorry. And let me tell you I have forgiven you. Then you cannot go back to our Creator and say, Allah, we have settled. Can you please, in your magnanimity, also forgive me? That is the chain. You can't just fly over like that. It's a chain. It starts from one place. You go back to where you have erred, and you begin your forgiveness from there, and you end it with Allah. So you start everything from where it starts. And that is why they will say that wherever you fall is where you start from. So all these things are things that we should know concerning our duties, responsibilities, and being just with our Creator. Now, who are the people that are oppressed? Those people that are oppressed are those that I have mentioned. That any time we do the contrary of all those things that Allah has mandated us to do or commanded us to do, whosoever that we do it for are the oppressed. And Allah has a way of helping out the oppressed. The Prophet said one hadith. He said, "Unzur akhaka zaliman aw mazluman." Help your brother that is the oppressor, and help your brother that is the oppressed. He said, "Unzur akhaka zaliman aw mazluman." Help your brother that is the oppressor, and help your brother that is the oppressed. And you know the Sahaba will always ask question. They say, "Ya Rasulullah, we understand helping the person that is oppressed. How do we help the oppressor?" He said, "Fakuzu." The way you are going to help the oppressor is that kuzu biyadihi. Make sure that you hold him. Don't allow him to do another form of oppression. Prevent him from doing another form of oppression or oppressing other people. That is how we can help the oppressor. How do we now help the oppressed? Get for him his right from whosoever has taken it from him. Help your brother that is the oppressor, and help your brother that is the oppressed. Help the oppressor by making sure that you do not allow him to do any other oppression. If evil is going to be you fighting him, and that is the verse of that Quran, is the Toga here. Let everybody now turn against him that we will not allow you to do this in our community. You can't be cheating. You can't be collecting people's wife up and down. What's your problem? Because you have money, and everybody that you see that is not having money, you go and collect their wife. People should stand up against him. They are helping him. Not to be oppressing people again. Because that is what the prophet enjoined us to do. Then the oppressed, okay, what did they do to you? He said, please help you. You collected my wife, you collected my children. Yeah, then I'm back. Don't worry, we are going to take back your children for you. First of all, let the community stand up, but get his children back for him. And still pursue the cause of even possible getting his wife back for him. Now, those are the things that we should do. And Allah will regard as we are being judged to him as our creator. Now, let me quickly now bring like one or two stories of how the prophets and one or two of the Sahaba have been just in their own period. It was said in one of the hadiths of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that one day a man came to the Prophet. This man one time borrowed the Prophet some grams of tamar, labidu, or is it labidu or dabidu? Okay, dabidu. Maybe like 10 kilo of dabidu. He loaned the Prophet. So the man came to the Prophet to ask for his the return of the dabidu. The Prophet now mandated somebody else, please go and help me give this person his dabidu. So the person now went. This one is very common among us. And when they got there, instead of giving him back 10 grams, just giving back like 6. It's 10 grams. Can't you give the prophet? Can't you give the prophet the remaining one? And the man said, the prophet that I know is the most just person on the surface of earth. I will never be unjust to anybody. Did you not get to the prophet? The moment the man repeated what he said, the prophet put his head down and he was crying. He said, he has spoken the truth. I am the most just among the creation of Allah. And for that reason, go back and give him 10. Complete 10 of kilogram as he has given to me, without allowing it to be reduced by any means. And the man went back and gave it to the man accordingly. This is justice. You borrow 10, you get 10. It's even injustice. You borrow me 100 naira, it's have to pay 200 naira. It's injustice. If I have gotten 200 naira, will I come and borrow 100 naira in your hand in the first place? And that's the reason why Sharia said we should not borrow, take loan that has interest. If I had money in the first place, will I come? I didn't have was the reason why I came. You now want to compound my problem by even making me to pay double. I will not be running letter scatter to look for the one on top even before I pay the real money. And to worsen things, the capitalist, after every 2 months to another one, after every 2 months to another one, after every 2 months. You know, so one of our sister, one of my brother's wife, was broke and he saw all this online borrowing money. She tested it the first time. Before she knew it, 10,000. They have created this account. Wow. Just like that, she went to another house. She borrowed 40. She went to another house. She borrowed. And the entire money she borrowed was around maybe 140. Before 2 months, it has skyrocketed into million because she refused to pay. She is now borrowing from here to pay this one. She borrowed from another app to pay this app. That one too will not be blackmailing her. She will borrow from another app and pay this app. So eventually, people in our contact are being blackmailed by different apps. You might feel like, are you borrowing everywhere? You say that I just have to borrow from this one to pay, or you want to rob Peter to pay for. You can't do that to a capitalist. You continue to have problems because you compound it for you. The moment you cease to pay at the right time, the app will automatically add value to it. So it will increase the value of your debt. And before you know it, it keep accruing to the time that you'll be able to pay. And it will not become an embarrassment for you in the society. So these are the things that we call injustice. If you give 10, collect 10. So if I borrow you 10, Why are you not saying that things are hard now? Can't you collect 9? Why should I collect 9? Let me be the one to use my discretion to now say that because I see that things are hard, that you paid out of hardship. Let me now decide to give you 2. Islam is so beautiful. Do you know that Islam said in Sharia, if you are owing me, you can't give me gifts. How can you give me gifts? You are owing somebody and you are giving that person gifts. That is bribe. You are owing me 100,000 naira. You just say you gave me 10,000 naira gift. Why can't you just give me 10,000 naira out of my 100 and let it remain 90,000? Very commonsensical. Islam said, whosoever that is owing cannot give gifts. First of all, go and pay your gift. Your debt. If nothing you want to do gift, I know, okay, it's not out of ordinary. But you want to give me gift, one because you don't want me to ask for what you are owing me, and you are even compounding your own problem for yourself. Instead of you reducing your problem, you are compounding it. Because if that money you use in giving me gift, if you have paid it out of the debt will continue to decrease. Now, whosoever that has now been oppressed, Allah now gave them one beautiful opportunity. And it's the most beautiful thing. This opportunity will do us two favors. One, it will serve that hadith of the prophet that help the oppressed and the oppressor. Why? If you have been oppressed, Allah has given you something that He has never given to any other person. So, if the oppressor is aware of this, he will cease to oppress people. And the oppressor too will feel relief. And what is that thing? Allah said that, the prophet said that whenever mankind raises his hand up and prays to Allah, the angel will descend from heaven and pick his prayer to the heaven, to God. But whenever an oppressed person raises his hand up to pray to Allah, Allah will command the angels and the heaven to open and go by the side. And that the prayer should just start coming up directly to his arash. Which means there is no intermediary between the prayer of the oppressed and Allah. It goes straight to the table of Allah. No file carrier. There's nobody that will carry your file. No file missing. Nobody will archive your file. Directly to Allah. And Allah will akin to the prayer. So which means, my brother, my sister, anytime, if you want to know if you have been oppressed or not, and you pray to Allah, and Allah will not akin to your prayer, it is that you only assume that you have been oppressed, but genuinely you are not oppressed. Because if you are genuinely oppressed, Allah will akin to that prayer immediately. And that's why Allah, the Prophet said, beware of those that are oppressed. Because the only thing between them and Allah is just for them to say it, and Allah will akin to it. And that is how just our Creator is.
Thank you, sir, for the lecture. So please now we'd like to take questions, but we'd like to keep it short. So if you have any questions, you can raise up your hand and then we'll just show it now. Number 1. Anyone else? Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Okay, that's okay, number 5. That's 5 questions. Thank you very much. Okay, number 1, please.
Okay, quickly, I have 2 questions. So the first question is regards the recent judgments where Muslims are allowed to wear hijab. And you saw the drama that came with it, another guy who wore like some Marvelist clothing too. So I just want to ask, I mean, the way the society now, the politicians have done a very good job to divide us along religious lines. And we say that we need to, in terms of awareness and sensitizing people on what Islam represents, right? For the herbalist, he doesn't have to wear his dressing like that anymore. For us, we need to dress like that anymore. But it might not be. In terms of sensitizing and creating awareness, how best can we do it as Muslims in terms of skill? And I'm not saying that maybe do it within your neighbor, because those are like triples and it might not come in the skill that you want. But in terms of the skill, sensitizing people to understand what Islam truly represents. Okay. Then the second one, to put caveat, I'm not aligned to any presidential candidates. I don't see a candidate in the current state. But when you look at it from a place of fairness, Nigeria is maybe closely 50 to 50 representation in terms of people. How does it cover well people when you have, two Muslims going as president and vice president? I mean, if it was also percent Christian, we'll probably have other Muslims also, being defensive and trying to say this doesn't make sense. So I'd like to understand your position on this.
Thank you so much.
Just, being just to society.
Yeah, it's a very thought-provoking question, and I think I love that. Let me start from the Muslim ticket of the thing. And like I said, that Muslims are the best of homes. We are the most tolerant person on the surface of the earth. Though we have been blackmailed to the extent that we ourselves usually see ourselves as departments. But go and look at the statistics. It's there. Come to the southwest. You see a lot of Christian tickets. Ondo, Ikiti, some other places like that. Even Oshu. You will see a lot of Christians tickets. Nobody talks about it. Muslims, you always feel that anything that is good, I will keep quiet. I will have been keeping quiet for a very long time. But the fact that they control the press media, so they use every form of propaganda against us and put us at the defensive. And in most cases, the righteous ones are always be at the defensive. Why? Because we are not allowed to put people at defensive. We don't need to put you at defensive. Leave and let us leave. That's what God told us. But they don't have such principle. Their own principle is that push them to the defensive. And that's the reason why things that are natural, we have been manipulated, we have been cheated, we have been relegated to the background from the time immemorial. Listen, at a point in time in this country, you cannot go to school, even when the colonial masters are here, until you change or convert from Islam to Christianity. We don't do that. Even if you want to go to Asarudi, you are welcome. And if you want to maintain your Michael, your Gabriel, what have you, it's your choice. That one day you come, what do you do? If any Islamic society comes up with that, Muslims will stand up against them. That when you put that verse, like Iqra, there's no compulsion in religion. These are the principles that we uphold and are guiding us. But look at that. Muslims cannot go to school except they change or convert to Christianity. That has gone and gone. Now, look at, you attended public schools?
Yeah, Unity School.
Yeah. I attended a very public school. Unity School are up there, being very public, primary school. I know what that means. So, look at it. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, on assemblies, what do we do? Christian song, Christian worship, morning and afternoon. Is that not? Only Friday that we can have Muslim assembly. Are you getting it? Only Friday. And it was in the morning alone. In the afternoon, we start to do Christian worship. Do you know the number of times I was beaten for not having song of praise on the assembly? And I'm a Muslim. Who can beat a Christian child for not having the Quran? I'm a Muslim. I cannot remember. I still have some of them up here. Some are food, some cannot eat, some can eat, but have no food. We are food. Is that one? A lot of them are still up here because right from my childhood, this is what I've been put there. This is what I've been put there. There is a particular one I love so much that I was even thinking of converting into Arabic. So things like this have been happening, but we kept quiet. Why? Because our principle ask us to do so. Like we believe that Allah, the mercy of Allah, will give us a way out. Now, coming back to politics, ordinarily, initially, Muslims dominate and decide political fate, most especially in Lagos. Most especially in Lagos. If you are not a Muslim and you don't belong to some scapers, you cannot be the governor of Lagos State at some point. But Tinubu came, he changed the narrative, we accepted. They started, it was the Christian governor, Muslim vice governor, and what have you. At a point in time, they demanded for a Christian governor, and we give it to them. We've been having it now. Ambode, Sanwo-Olu, and like that. Nobody cried foul. Because we are Muslims. even if we cry foul. So Muslim groups will stand up and tell you that you cannot go against the position of the government of the day. And we won't be able to do that. Look at Amasa, during Amasa's case, that lawyer, baby lawyer girl. Do you know, despite the fact that she was fighting our own cause for us, and she's ready to sacrifice her career for that reason. Some Muslims stood up and are on the side of the law school, that they believe that you cannot criticize the government or the power that be. This is Muslim. Whenever we want to be just, we are just, regardless of whose cause is God. So that is how it's coming. So I believe that in the spirit of fairness and justice, politics is different from religion, and their political calculation is different from ours. Ordinarily, if the political calculation that basis Tinubu is to choose a Christian, so if the political calculation that we pay the APC and Tinubu is to bring a Christian vice, that's what they are going to do. Then don't forget the fact that these people are not doing it for religion. They are not even Muslims in the real sense. But by name or by where they belong, they are regarded as Muslims. But they are not doing this thing for Islam. It is only when somebody like Sheikh Abdulrahman Ahmad, the other person, is now campaigning that it should be Muslim, I shall let you put your justice. But if Tinubu is doing it, he's doing it not for us. Majority of places where Muslims have been deprived, it was the Muslim in power that gave Christians those opportunities over us. When the hijab was banned, it was not a Christian that was in power. It was a Muslim. The Christian inherited it. So they used us for us. It was Fashola that we believe is a Muslim that banned the use of hijab in secondary schools. Because they put it, they used to play their own game. If you want our support, 1, 2, 3 must be done. And they know that they are not conscious Muslims. They were ready to sell Islam at any point in time and just move on. So for that reason, I believe that it is not a question of religion or faith, but it's a question of politics. And we should leave it to the politician to solve themselves. And this is simple. Anybody who feels is not comfortable by that calculation should vote for somebody else. As simple as that. As simple as that. We have Obi who have a Christian and a Christian vice. Nobody is talking about it. So they should vote for whosoever. And whosoever that want Christian Muslim, they should vote for Atiku. So it's just as simple as that.
He has a Muslim vice.
He has a Muslim vice.
Okay, sorry.
Initially, thank you for the questions. Please, we'll try to keep our questions 8 ways. Thank you very much. And at this note, you all remember that it's almost time for Salah and we gave 15 minutes for questions. So for the next questions, please make it short. Thank you very much.
So it's not like really related to what we discussed today. I just want to pick up something you mentioned, and that's interest. No ethnic interest, river. So this is, I don't know if this is very relative, but I want to talk about the valuation of naira. How a lot of young people are moving to save in dollars. Right? So we know that the whole essence of that is that we want our money to actually grow. By putting in dollar, we don't want our money to devalue. So I wanted to know, is that going to be Islamic culture? Is that the way just for you?
That we do what?
We are saving in dollars.
Okay.
With the aim of actually like by the time I put my money, I know my money is not the value. Rather, I'm getting everything to increase by money. So that is Islamic teaching.
That is not interest. That is using common sense. That is using common sense, and common sense is allowed. Are you getting it now? In the first place, who are those that determines what a naira should be and what a dollar should be? It is the imperialists. So if you have to play by their own game, let us say in their currency, so that they will continue to work to devalue naira. So if you are sensible enough, you can save in their currency, no matter what evaluation that meets naira, our money is still safe and intact. So when they are ready to lift it up, we will meet them. So it's common sense.
Okay, question number 3, please. Okay, maybe it's not here. Question next person.
Yeah, I want to ask that when you were talking about justice, and it should be just to know our contenders. And I now want to ask that what is the difference between being just and the spirit of brotherhood? Maybe, for instance, you have a brother, who is a Muslim brother, maybe it's content for something, and there's another person that is working. And I want to be just, and you have an information. So where is the drawing line between brotherhood and being just?
Yeah, thank you so much. There has always been a line of demarcation. Now, being just is being fair when two people are in question, and they have an issue, and you are the person that is going to pass the judgment on it. A non-Muslim, a Muslim, you have to be just. Treat the issue accordingly. But making use of brotherhood. Okay, for instance now, brotherhood is I want to help. I'm taking a foot to help. I decide to help the Muslim community as my first priority. That's my constituency. They are my brothers. That doesn't mean I'm not just. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to help others. I just decide to start from my own people and extend it to them. Just like even if you want to help somebody outside, you have to help your family first before helping people outside. There's no way you help people outside without helping your family, and you want to say that you are doing good. Because before you can extend hand of fellowship outside, people around you, that is where even where the dawah, even dawah. There's no way you said you want to go and do dawah when people around you are not accepting Islam and you want to go and preach Islam outside. Start from akrab al-akrabin, from people that are more closer to you. And by extension of that, those that are your brothers are your akrab al-akrabin. So if you want to be good to them first and later transcend it to others, it is welcome. For instance, when somebody asks the prophet, who do I do good to? He said, your mother. Who again? He said, your mother. Who again? Your mother, then your father. Does it mean that you are not going to do good to others? It's only telling you how to prioritize doing good. Because of the fact that your mother is so daring, she has done a lot of things that must be compensated. First, second, and third, consider him. Then consider somebody else after him. So with me, considering your Muslim brother first is a sense of brotherhood and not a sense of injustice. But when it now comes to passing verdicts or people are involved and you must say the truth about the matter, you must always say the truth regardless of what's going on. No, that would be injustice. You already said the president does better. And what you are looking for is competence. So you have to prioritize competence. Nobody should celebrate mediocrity over mediocrity. Except you don't give what you want. If you are the owner of your company, and you say only Muslims should apply, and the Christians apply, no matter how good it is, you decide not to employ, you have said only Muslim. You are clear about what you want. But you said competent people should apply, and they apply. Now you want to say that because he's a Muslim, and this one is a Christian and he knows the work better. You are even doing yourself bad if you decide to go and employ somebody that is not good over somebody that is good. So that is injustice.
Okay, thank you very much. Fifth question. I believe we have fifth question.
Okay.
And question number 3 and 5.
One question is when you used the American case for justice, I was not comfortable. So I wanted to ask if it's based on freedom, fine, American, freelance, all come and everybody, everything goes. when it comes to justice, do you think America was just in the story with regard to the invasion of Iraq, Libya, and all etc.? I guess we will go where we
Yes,
so
sir.
do you think America was just in all that?
Yeah. Like I said, I was talking about a government and leadership of a community. That was the hadith, that nobody, no government that is just, that Allah will not give Nasru if you are just to your people. Now, look at that. It is because of the fact that the Muslims are unjust to themselves was why America was able to do that. I used to say that it is not the problem of the American, but the problem of the Muslims. Can the American invade Iraq without the help of Kuwait? It's not possible. Without the help of Iran and all other Muslim, and all other Muslim community around, it's not possible. Why? You see, one thing they usually do is that they know us very well, and they break our rank and file and make sure that we deviate from our Islamic principle of brotherhood, Islamic principle of justice, Islamic principle of not helping the Zalim. And we will not begin to help the Zalim, which is the case of the Americans invading all other Islamic countries. They are never just in doing that. They are not just. But because of the fact that they are just to their people, is the reason why, just like they said, on the basis of freedom to their people. Look at what is happening in Saudi Arabia. As a scholar, you cannot even say what Allah has said in the Quran if it's against the government of the day. You will be arrested on the Mumbai. On the Mumbai, you will see people putting on Jalabia and what have you. They are SSS. The moment you start talking about governments in different tone, they will arrest you there and then, immediately. Where is the justice? In America, you can criticize the government. The governor, the president can stay like this and you will be criticizing him. Nobody will query you. Are you getting it now? You are free. You have the freedom. You have,
Sorry,
you have the liberty.
Sorry, please. The topic for today is justice and oppression. Let's not go into politics. Let's not go into America. If you have a personal opinion, you can also have a one-on-one with him.
Anyway, I guess it's because of the time. You are really conscious of the time.
Yes, I'm also, yes.
Some issues like this, Sister Waikama, some issues like this, we may want to have 15 minutes, but at times, what is on ground, they require us spending the next 30 minutes. They are very important at times. Because if we don't clear air on certain issues, the problem will keep reoccurring, or the misunderstanding will keep reoccurring, but I understand. And this is Zoom now. It's not mockery. It's something we can extend. We can even extend it to 3:30. And that's why I used to tell people when they come, it's time for Salah. I said, what is time for Salah? Because now, what we are even talking about is even more stronger than the Salah we want to go and face out. Because if you don't have the adequate knowledge of it, then what are we doing? And most of this is not model. It's only model that we cannot excuse. All of that Salah, we can excuse it because they have a longer period of time, like 2-3 hours. And we can pray within that period, in as much as we are doing something honoring within those periods. We can still try a little bit and extend it. But in a nutshell, just to cut it short, sir, I'm just regarding to what you have said, which is talking about freedom, allowing people to have that liberty, protecting people's interests. The government protects their interests. The government in turn will protect them. And that may even be one of those benefits that they are benefiting. Are you getting it now? They are just to their people. So whatever injustice they are pointing out to some other people, they may be as a result of the justice they have done into their people that Allah is still doing what? Just overlooking it for them. But the time, if Allah said what in Allah, we let the Zalim, Allah will leave him to continue to do his Zulu, but in Allah will not catch him in such a way that he will never be able to say, I want to get out of it. And I know that is the case of the American or the American government. A day is coming, and that has been predicted, that the day is coming that the power will be relinquished from the Americans and it's going to get into the hand of the Muslims. You know, in this, there's a philosophy about the power of the world. They say it's going to be 9 powers, according to some philosophers and some thinkers. And they said America is currently using the 8th power. And according to the Hadith, the last power of the world is going to be in the hand of the Muslims. and that is going to be after Dajjal. Are you getting it now? So which means they are protecting it so seriously, they don't want to relinquish the power. And it started from the Rome to the Greece, blah blah blah, to the Muslims, they later come from the hand of the Muslims.